Kirby with a gun. Laugh. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Whoa, bye-bye. Of course not. If I pranked you, then make sure you say I just got pranked in the comments. Also, so I can get this out of the way early and not bother you about it later in the video, if you enjoy what you're watching, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Alongside your comment, of course, about getting especially pranked, don't forget to vote for what I cover in the next spotlight down in the comments. I actually have a full list of the abilities that we've covered in the description, just in case you're afraid I've covered your favorite ability and you don't want to leave a waste of a comment. I mean, any comment is an algorithmically friendly comment, so comment away. Voting ends on June 21st, 2025, so yeah, there you go. With that, let's talk the shooties. Unlike the last time, where I grouped a bunch of abilities together, which had a lot of things that they shared in common, this one is a lot simpler. These are their abilities who have one main function, and that's to go pew, pew, pew. You're very scientific, I'm aware. Hoo-hee. But they all have a different way of going about doing this. Yeah, I'll admit, they each are so different. I probably could have just given them their own spotlight, but Archer is really the only one with enough games and enough to say within those games to actually merit that. So, hey, I mixed Cupid and Ranger with your Archer. Something Reese's. But even though we're covering 3 abilities today, the question that we have to ask is always the same. Were any of these abilities a bullseye, or did they miss the mark? Let's talk Archer! And Ranger! And Cupid! Well, okay, we're actually doing things a little differently today. Don't get me wrong, we'll talk about Archer and Ranger like we normally do, but Cupid... Okay, if there is anything nice that I can say about Cupid, is that I really like it in Amazing Mirror. And in between the two, Amazing Mirror and Squeak Squad, it is certainly much better in Amazing Mirror. Unironically, aside from stuff like sleep, Cupid is a contender for the single worst ability in Squeak Squad. It's weak, it's slow, and it doesn't benefit from any of the mechanics that make Squeak Squad abilities good, like crouch cancels or jumping boosts. In Amazing Mirror, yeah, it's bad and weak and not very good, but the aerial movement that you get out of it, you're really fun and actually not that bad for more wide open areas. It's pretty bad everywhere else, but hey, a win is a win. To get into some specifics here, and not for very long because, trust me, there's not much to say, Cupid has 3 things to its name. Its default attack, which fires an arrow at enemies, a charge attack, which fires 2 to 3 arrows at enemies, and unlimited flight that doesn't lose speed. An Amazing Mirror. Trust me, I'm doing you a favor, and I'm not showing you Squeak Squad footage. It's so bad. Oh my god! No, why is it there? Get that filthy Squeak Squad Cupid footage out of here! It's rancid! Look at it! That said, there are abilities in Amazing Mirror that are both faster and stronger than Cupid, and even for a 100% playthrough, being stuck with a slower ability isn't the worst thing, since normal Kirby has some pretty solid movement speed. In fact, Cupid gets some time in the spotlight in the 100% category, being used to cut a rope before being ditched for a wheel immediately. Yeah, it's only used because, like, right there, it's pretty convenient for one specific task, and not because it's actually good. Hey, at least it's used. We'll see if that matters for anything compared to Archer and Ranger, but at least compared to Squeak Squad Cupid, or Squeak Squad Cupid, good enough. But, okay, as much as I love Cupid, there's only so much you could say about its usefulness for efficiency. Archer has a lot more to go into, especially as it's been in 4 heckin' games, wowza. So let's start, or continue, I guess, sorry Cupid, here. Archer's debut was in Triple Deluxe, where it sniped into the scene, get it, with 3 other abilities, and of these 4, Belle, Beetle, and Circus, then of course Archer, it's arguably the best. Certainly better than Belle, but while Circus and Beetle put up a good fight, Archer's versatility and wider roster of appearances gives it the edge. But is it actually good in any of these 4 games that it's in? To get the most tragic bit of news out of the way first, Yes, Archer is a defensive ability. Yikes, isn't that like a death sentence? I've explained this many times in the past, but if you're new around here or you just love hearing me out, yeah, there is almost no merit to being defensive when you're playing efficiently. Why take the time to play defensive and risk being hit, take damage, and, you know, kill Kirby, Morbid, when you could use a faster, more offensive ability to clean house and ignore your problems? Maybe that's not the best metaphor for real life, but for Kirby games, fairly apt. This is reflected in Archer's whole kit. Even its dash attack, Arrow Slash, is one of the worst dash attacks in the series. It's grounded only, it's weak, and while it does grant Kirby full invincibility, it's really, really slow. Kind of the whole point of dash attacks is that they're fast because, you know, you're dashing, but I guess Archer having a full dash attack would make it too strong. It'd still be locked to the ground and deal less damage than a potato. Don't disrespect potatoes, by the way, because I love potatoes. But hey, what do I know? I guess. Archer does have an aerial dash attack, Leaping Quiver, but that's used more as an offensive move rather than a mobility-focused one, so it doesn't really fix the issue of Archer's slowness. To move on to the most untragic piece of news, it's not a word, maybe fortunate would be better, I don't know, anyways, Leaping Quiver is actually really good for, of all things, damage. In fact, a lot of moves in Archer's kit actually deal pretty good damage. Hitman, done by attacking while hiding under your camouflage, is really fast and effective for grounded targets, especially ones that you need to juggle. Sky Shot, done by holding up before shooting, is a great anti-air attack with the added utility of hitting everything above you, not just enemies. Sharpshooter allows Kirby to aim their arrows while they're charging for that extra damage, and while the medium charge of Archer's shot, Snipe Shot, absolutely does have its uses, the max charge of Magic Star Arrow seriously can't be underestimated. Now, I'm gonna say something that I'm sure is gonna surprise a lot of you watching, but Archer, under the right circumstances, is one of the best offensive abilities in the series. But didn't I say earlier that it was defensive? And being defensive is bad? What gives? Is Klaire Fluffle, top 10 Kirby Superstar Ultra beat Revenge of the King / any % runner in the world, lying to me? No, I'm still not letting that go, even though it was over a month. Well, no, because I stand by what I said. Archer is defensively leaning, and leaning too hard into defense definitely is very bad. Archer, however, is a rare case of an ability using its defensive merits, invincibility on its crouch, strong damage from full screen, fast attacks when needed, etc., to obliterate bosses and even give it some in-game utility at points. Of course, the circumstances do need to properly line up in order for this to work. In a game like Planet Robobot, where power creep hit really hard, resulting in mobility and DPS, damage per second, being the bulk of what makes abilities exceptional, Archer suffers. It's still good, with a placement of 13th out of 24 for true arena runs, as well as maybe some backup utility in a couple levels. If you mess up or you're not confident in the strats that require the main ability, it is still very beginner friendly, while being useful to some extent, kinda, even if you're not a beginner. But the occasional backup in a category like all code cubes, don't ask about any %, I'm sure you heard me 5 seconds ago when I said it doesn't have a good mobile dash attack, and missing out on getting a top half time for the true arena, yeah, that's not a great look. We've definitely covered worse on the Spotlight series so far. In fact, we've covered worse in this very episode. But, you know, I gotta cover everything. So, what does Archer need in order to succeed? Or, to be even more quirky, what can we learn from Archer's failures in Planet Robobot? Well, the big thing is that Archer has really strong attacks, but nothing that can deal huge damage in a short time. Either it needs a move that can do with that, be in a game where that's not as important, or, I don't know, both. That'd be cool. That alone would make it great for bosses and give it some niches for main categories with good ability variety, like Triple Deluxe and Robobot. But if we want to go all the way, giving it some strong mobility would make it especially good, even maybe allowing it some use in a category like any %. Sadly, we live in a world of balance, quote-unquote, so a strong defensive ability can't have fast movement tools. Boo-hoo. but I think its strength and utility being in a game that fits it better would be good enough. As it stands, it's still, if nothing else, used for backup in a more expansive category in Robobot, like all code cubes, as mentioned. So we have a start. A big thing about Archer that I haven't covered yet, sort of, is its great utility. Similar to Cupid, yeah, I know we're bringing up Cupid again, Archer can cut ropes, but because of everything else that Archer has going for it, there's a lot more room for opportunity here. While you only get Archer for specific puzzles, and by that I mean they're all gyro puzzles, holy smokes, there are a few instances in all Sunstones' run for Triple Deluxe, and 100% by extension, that you keep Archer even after the puzzles are over. No shock, one of them winds up being for mini-boss killing in 5-5, which is the obligatory mini-boss killing level, because hey, Triple Deluxe is a game where strong single hits matter a lot more than fast damage per second, or DPS. The utility and strength of Archer's kit even allows it some fun in the Fighters games, although it's nothing exceptional. In both Deluxe and 2, it peaks at a 6th place time, both on the highest difficulty, which is quite the coincidence. There are many reasons that this could be, like why doesn't it do better on the lower difficulties? But the big thing is that neither of these games are super popular, and it makes certain ability difficulties very unoptimized. Seeing a 6th place time for Archer in Fighters Deluxe, though, is really not that good. I mean, it's good enough, it's technically top half, but it's still nothing to write home about, given that there's only 12 abilities. Fighters 2, on the other hand, is a lot more impressive, given this game has a much more chaotic, very hard run, but also in that there are 22 abilities instead of 12. There's definitely a clear advantage in Archer being very strong and very safe, but instead of that being a beginner's trap of sorts, it's used to make some very quick work of enemies. Again, the best thing a defensive ability could ever want are good offenses. Sure, you're just standing there, very menacingly, but you're getting the job done, and that's what matters. As for the lower difficulties being worse, much worse, Archer ranks bottom 5 in several difficulties across both games, the Robobot issue of it not having any real good quick options comes back to haunt it. Hitman is pretty okay, but not nearly as good as what some of the better abilities offer. Look, if you're playing on easy mode, if the CPU is gonna stand there and wanna be your friend, what are you gonna do? Slowly fire arrows in their face? No, you wanna whack them with whatever it is that you possibly can. I don't know, slap them with the whip, bonk them with the hammer, let your imagination run wild. You don't use Archer though, it's kinda stinky. And while I can't add much else for Fighters Deluxe, Archer does have similar utility for Chapter 5 of KF2's story mode that we see from previously covered abilities like Beam and Fighter. It has a charge attack, Chapter 5 lets you boost your charge speed, bam, instant success. Archer, when properly buffed, is maybe even better than Fighter. It charges just as fast, deals ridiculous enough damage, and unlike Fighter, you can aim it up or down to catch enemies that are trying to jump over your attack. Before you get these buffs, oh my god, don't ask, that's truly dire, and may some deity have mercy on your soul if you try it. But with the charge speed and attack buffs in place, it is ridiculously strong, even if it can't top Fighter because of that early performance. Ugh. Before we leave Archer behind though, I, of course, have to mention the game I intentionally cut myself short on. The gamer Archer does very well against bosses due to how they take damage, that has a true arena which allows you to use those tools to go crazy against said bosses, and as mentioned, does have utility in an actual main category. I am, of course, talking about Triple Deluxe. While it couldn't even hold a top half time in Robobot, Archer truly excels here with a 7th place time, beating several other strong abilities like Fire and Wing. But what makes it so good here? Is it the fast charge move that's strong, hits once and depletes health bars like crazy? Yes. No weird punchlines for this one. Sorry, Magic Star Arrow, that's it. Not only is Magic Star Arrow straight up one of the best moves in the game for boss fights, it's also one of the easiest to use. Just charge the arrow, far away, you win. Not too shabby. If you want to really go for fast times, you can manipulate boss health bars using Snipe Shot, but if you just want a fast and efficient method of clearing these, Magic Star Arrow is your go-to. I've recommended this a lot in the past to people who want an easy clear of these modes that's fairly difficult to mess up, unlike the stone alternative which requires the patience of a saint. Using camouflage to occasionally dodge an attack if needed, yeah, that's fine, as long as you're firing those magic star arrows straight into a boss's noggin. You're anywhere on them, really. Archer's just that good. To name some of its highlights, any fight where a boss's main hitbox is in the air, easy. Most abilities focus on hitting grounded enemies as it is, or at least enemies that can't soar to the skies, so Archer's got a clear leg up on those. Fights like Kracko and Coily Rattler go really well for it, while bosses it can't as reliably tear through like Flowery Woods, yeah, it's gonna be a little worse against those. Of the 16 fights, it only really struggles in about 4 of them while doing good enough damage to the others, from Paintra to Dark Day-to-Day, and even the final fight against Sectonia. Yo, and go figure, yeah, it does struggle with Pirate Bit, but it's not that bad, above average even, but compared to many of its good fights, yeah, it loses time. Every ability loses time here, that's just how Pirate Bit works. And with Archer finished, we're still not done. Nope. As I'm sure most of you haven't forgotten, given this is the gun ability of all time, I haven't talked about Ranger yet. And given how I've talked about Ranger in the past, uh-oh, this may not be so fun. I mean, yes, we just talked about Archer being actually good because it's so strong, so Ranger would be good too, right? We're in 3D, Ranger is super powerful, and it's so safe. There is no way it can be bad. And it's bad. Gotcha. Just kidding. I'll admit that I was pretty surprised by this one, and I've been a long time drill truther when comparing the two, but Ranger is actually an impressive copy ability that can get stuff done. Of course, I'm saying all of this when it has basically nothing to do in most of the main modes. It's definitely useless for any percent, fairly useless for true ending, or Forgo Isles for those of you who don't mind spoilers. Whoops. And only really useful in the Wastes Where Life Began and all Waddle Dees, as well as 100%. In most other instances where you're using it, it's either faster and more reliable to use Bandana D, and I know you can't say, well, don't use Bandana D because he's a precious baby and I will go feral on you if anyone disrespects him. Or for levels where, yeah, you're using it, but realistically, it's because you have to, not because it's actually that great. You get rid of it right after. Granted, like I said earlier, in Wastes Where Life Began, the wide open area is all about sniping things from a distance. Targets, switches, even the lost squishy, mysterious Giga Chad that he is. If Forgotten Land had more wide open levels like this one, or at least wide open rooms, maybe Ranger would see some more use, but then we'd have to listen to people say, why are we playing an open world Kirby? So maybe it is a fair trade. I don't know, that's for you to decide. I just sit here and yap. Okay though, so from what I've said so far, Ranger actually does seem pretty bad. Oh, okay, maybe bad isn't correct, but based on what I've heard, I would not be calling it good. But, lucky for us, the Ultimate Cup boss rushes are here to help. And Mennonite Cup too, I guess. While I wouldn't say Ranger is quite as good as Triple Deluxe Archer, it's closer to that than, say, Planet Robobot Archer, which I guess Planet Robobot Archer is closer to TDX Archer than Squeak Squad Cupid. But that's how it be, I guess. Overall, I'd say that Noble Ranger is the worst of the 3 due to its requirement of getting a full charge in order to do rapid fire and actually deal good damage. Maybe without upgrades, the added strength would help a little bit, but at least talking upgrades from the Blacksmith Waddle Dee, not the item shop that gives you the strength boosts, those are totally fair game. Ranger outdamages it by a fair amount. Even without buffs, the two are practically tied in terms of their best times, so it's kind of a moot point. It's a moot point regardless, I suppose, because Space Ranger is way better than either of them, but still. So what can Ranger do to these bosses that makes it special? Well, before a fight even starts, you can of course charge your big pew pew, or your super extreme aim shot. Forgotten Land exclusives have Japanese names, and that's all we have to work with. I think calling it super extreme aim shot is amazing. Anyway, you deal some big damage with this before running into attack. Noble Ranger suffers here since you're stuck firing your pew-pews for a while in one place, but the idea is still the same. The real source of damage, and where Space Ranger shines especially, is your aerial pew-pew. Oh, sorry, your rapid fire shot. That one's boring, actually. We'll stick with the aerial pew-pew. I like that one. What makes this so strong is that you can do 2 of these in a single short hop. With the first two Rangers, this already piles on the damage, but Space Ranger takes it a step further and adds Hit Stun, this freeze you're seeing on screen whenever Kirby lands the attack, on top of all that. Basically, because it fires out so many hits, each of which deals solid damage and Hit Stun, you basically lock the boss in place as you slowly... Oh, I'm sorry, we're talking about Ranger, I assume slowly. No, it's very quickly whittle down their health. It's no top-tier threat or anything. Certain other abilities just have attacks that are too strong, but in particular, stat-boosted Space Ranger, and I guess unboosted Space Ranger, really, that one's good no matter what, are great choices for any run of any Ultimate Cup, even Z. And what do you know? Another set of abilities down. But what's a Klaire Copy Ability Spotlight without the Klaire Copy Ability Spotlight rankings, where I rank these abilities in every game that they show up in? This one was pretty easy, aside from nailing down Ranger's spot, so let's not waste any time and jump right in! Number 7, Cupid in Kirby Squeak Squad. Truly terrible, a candidate for the worst ability in the series. Number 6, Cupid and Kirby in the Amazing Mirror. Cutting ropes and having some semblance of speed in the air are great traits, but everything else about Cupid is as far removed from great as you can get. I really like it though, which makes this even more painful. Number 5, Archer in Kirby Planet Robobot. A decent backup for a couple levels, usable in the boss rushes, but not actually good. Whoops. Number 4, Kirby Fighters Deluxe. Basically, repeat what I said about Planet Robobot, except apply it to Kirby Fighters Deluxe. Again. Oops. Number 3, Kirby Fighters 2. Actually has some pretty decent traits if I'm being honest, but none of them can truly shine compared to some other abilities. Still, useful is useful, so Archer is happy. Number 2, Ranger in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I was gonna place this lower than KF2 Archer, but Space Ranger's top half Ultimate Cup Z performance, on top of Ranger itself actually having some decent utility in the main game for categories like all Waddle Dees, won me over. And finally, number 1, Archer in Kirby Triple Deluxe. Top to bottom, genuinely great ability. Great for bosses, great for its utility, sees genuine use in real and legitimate categories that don't require me to make something up. If it had a dash attack that actually let it move fast, it could really go places. Okay, that was fun. But you know what else is fun? Your Kirby Copy Abilities Spotlight ratings. Not at all like the rankings, except for when they are. We've got 3 abilities to cover today, so let's jump right in and start with Cupid. For the beginner looking to learn what efficient Kirby is actually like, I'm gonna be very generous and give Cupid a D. If you really need to cut ropes and nothing else is around, at least this gives you mobility in the air in one game. For the intermediate player who knows their stuff and is super epic, but can't quite reach the very top heights that the best players can, hi Destiny, I'm gonna be generous, again, and give Cupid a D-. I am also going to repeat myself verbatim. If you really need to cut ropes and nothing else is around, at least this gives you mobility in the air in one game. Finally, for the advanced player who knows their stuff, I'm not gonna be generous here. F. This really hurts, but Cupid doesn't do anything in efficient play. Simple as. Okay though, let's blow through the next 2 nice and quick. Let's go out of order and start with Ranger. Why the heck not? For the beginner, I think a solid B+ fits it rather nicely. It doesn't excel enough to get an A, plus it's only in one game, but it has actual level utility and actual easy boss strats that net it some success. And on the lower end, I'd give it, for the intermediate runner, a C+. Everything I said still stands, only you should be setting your sights on something a little bit better overall. Still neat though. Sadly, for the advanced player, I'm gonna drop it pretty far, down to a D+, but again, part of the problem for sure is that it's only in one game. If it were in more, maybe it'd have more of a chance to show off, who knows? As for Archer, this gets a bit tough, since it actually is in more than one game. Cupid is effectively only in one game, so there's that. Anyway, Archer for beginners gets a really nice A. Aside from Robobot, it's some level of efficient in every game that it's in, And even there, I wouldn't call it that bad. Definitely easy for what that's worth. For the intermediate player, I would give Archer a B-. Robobot holds it back, but it also loses most of its value in the Fighters games too, since you just have more reliable options. The Triple Deluxe is carrying this one for sure though. And finally, for the advanced player, it gets not a D+, but a C. I was gonna go with C- since the uses it has for every game that isn't Triple Deluxe just disappear. But hey, third verse, same as the first. Archer in Triple Deluxe is really, really good. Now, up next, on a casual level, I give Cupid, Archer, and Ranger a fun out of 10. And that's that. Archer, Ranger, and Cupid. Were any of these good? Funnily enough, I think we've covered the entire basic spectrum here. Cupid is bad, Ranger is okay, and Archer is good. Now we can go into more specifics here. Cupid is very bad, Archer is pretty great, etc., etc. But I think this one was actually fairly cut and dry. All of these abilities have a lot that set them apart, but ultimately, the best one wound up being the one with the fastest, strongest attacks, and the worst one wound up being the one with the weakest attacks. And hey, it's the slowest in one game, gotta give it that. God, seriously, why is Squeak Squad Cupid such a sad ability? Hey, don't be sad. We finished another spotlight. Yay! We're making so much good progress with these. As always, I wanted to thank everybody who made it this far into the video and to remind you to vote for the next ability in the comments down below. Voting ends on June 21st, 2025, so vote before then, or tell me what you think of these abilities after then. And hey, if you would like to go the extra mile, please consider becoming a Puptrin on Patreon or a Mempup on YouTube. You get nifty perks, including behind-the-scenes content that could be just about anything, honestly. Special thanks to my head-patting, Fluffle fan Puptrins and Mempups, Freakish Uproar, Lydia Scribe, Galaxy Fan 4, Heavy Points, Nightfall, and Arthur Legal 250V. I love you all! And until I see you all in another video, I have been Klaire. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you all around. Oh, well, bye!